I just kind of want to get an insight as to your experience and your recommendations for someone that's coming out, just starting new and everything, especially with my experience so far. I kind of want to see how can I get my score super high, and what's a realistic type of time frame that I can focus on.
Sure, sure. So when are you planning on taking the LSAT?
Okay, so initially I kind of wanted to do like a 6 months journey. But now that I'm taking practice exams and stuff, I kind of want to see if I can probably extend it for a longer period of time. Because especially now that the new exams are coming out, the time frames, I kind of want to make sure that I'm taking as much time needed, especially because they're all, recorded.
Sure, sure. So yeah, I mean, you've got plenty of time. We're speaking right now in February, very beginning of February, and a 6 month timeline would put you taking the LSAT in August, but you could also take it later in the fall and still apply in the same cycle. I typically recommend a minimum of 5 to 6 months to reach your fullest potential on the exam. But if you give yourself more time, that's even better. I mean, given the LSAT's importance.
How long did you study for the LSAT to reach the? I think you mentioned 175, right?
Yeah.
How long did that take you?
So personally, it took me a year, and that was not my intention. I certainly didn't want to study for that long, and I wouldn't recommend it if you can avoid it. I think that 6 months could certainly be more than enough, but it also depends on what your other obligations are like. So what else do you have going on? Are you working? Are you in school?
Okay, so right now I'm a full-time student. I'm still an undergrad, and I should be graduating in December. So I do that and also have part-time work. And I was doing an internship at a law firm over the summer. And I was trying to see if during the summertime, I just work completely on LSAT and not take any other more responsibilities.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea because you do have a lot going on during the school year. So over the summer, if you can do most of your studying then and then take the LSAT soon afterwards, I think that would be ideal.
And then another question I have for you. I think my biggest concern right now is the time in the exam, because if I take a little bit more time examining the question, I score higher than brushing through, because I feel like I miss a lot of little concepts that I have because of the time frame. I get so nervous and I'm just looking at the time. What would you recommend me, or how do you think that during your experience that, like, how did you overcome that big problem?
Yeah, so timing is a big part of studying for this exam, of course, because the time constraint is brutal. I recommend focusing on accuracy first, doing questions untimed first to learn the basics, then later introduce timing. But you've got to give yourself the time to thoroughly analyze the questions first, untimed, and understand them on a deep enough level so that when you introduce timing, you'll be okay, or at least relatively more okay. And then you can work on pacing strategies on top of that.
Okay. And then what's a big common mistake that you see a lot of students do, especially now that they're like starting off? If you could go back in other ways, what would you have done differently that would have sped up your process so it wouldn't have taken a year?
Yeah, sure. So a big mistake students make is taking exam after exam, measuring the results obsessively, hoping to spot some trick or some underlying thread that they can apply and magically unlock everything, when in reality, you've just got to review the questions you're already doing. I call this the obsessive practice exam narrative, or OPEN. Obsessively looking at your practice exams and constructing a narrative around the idea that tracking them and analyzing them in some way will lead to some miraculous discovery, when in reality, you've just got to do deeper review and do fewer problems. So fewer exams reviewed in more depth, rather than taking a timed exam every single day or even a timed exam every single week. I would start by building the foundation first, doing questions untimed, then introducing individual sections, and finally, full-length exams later, but not at the beginning.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And what is your recommendation towards blind review? Because I was seeing that online. Would you recommend that, or is that something that you tried?
Yeah, certainly. I think it's a great strategy. I also have a technique I call Socratic review. And Socratic review is looking at where your misunderstanding stems from. Is it for logical reasoning, let's say, the stimulus, the question stem, or the choices? If it's in the stimulus, what about the stimulus threw you off? What were the different ways in which LSAC increase the difficulty level of the argument. So for example, they might require you to take the contrapositive. They might require you to link together multiple conditional statements. They might not include indicator words for evidence and conclusion or for sufficient and necessary conditions, or they might require you to link things in an unfamiliar way when they're out of order. So having one conditional, then a filler statement, then another conditional, and you have to do a bit of rearranging there. Then if it's the question stem, maybe they're wording it in some unfamiliar way. And if it's in the choices, what was tempting about the wrong answer that made you pick it, and what ultimately makes it wrong? And what's discouraging about the right answer that pushes you away from it and makes it seem unappealing, and what ultimately makes it correct? So this takes a lot of time, as you can imagine. Lots of different things to look at.
Yeah, because right now I'm doing a course online, but I really want to just focus on improving, getting accurate and the timing down, because those are big factors that I have to work on a lot. And then right now the logic games are another aspects that are kind of hard for me. What would you recommend me to do to maybe improve the scores, or any tips that you have for me for logic games?
Sure. How many games have you done so far?
What do you mean, like in total, or?
Yeah, in total.
I haven't done that many. I don't have like a specific, I can't tell you, because I've been taking exams, and then I take my book, the one that I'm using, and I take that on Saturdays. But I don't have like a specific number.
So if you haven't done that many, I would say, of course, do more. There are nearly 400 released logic games, and this is the most improvable section, but it takes a while to still see the patterns. So I would say do a lot of games, but don't do them just section by section. Do them first by type. So do ordering games and see what are the common elements between ordering games. What do they have in common? What are different diagramming techniques? What is a loose ordering game versus a strict ordering game? Loose being where they relate before versus after, and strict being they're more related to specific slots. So you want to tell the difference between those. And then you want to look at different types of grouping games, and then combination games and rare games and pattern and mapping. There's all different kinds, but I would do them by type so you see what they have in common, because otherwise it's like a grab bag where you never know what's going to come next.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't really know, because right now I've been doing logical reasoning, and I know I need to be taking my time and putting logic games. But the thing that has been happening is that I've been doing logic games, but I just don't know the difficulties or the strategies they're using there. So I feel like I should like learn the basics down before I even know how to attack them all.
Definitely. So for the short answer is do games by type and redo games to see the more efficient techniques for solving them. But doing by type, not just by section, because it'll take far longer to get at what's really going on when you do them by section, because they're all scrambled together.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, and I'm just like, I don't know which one's the ones, like the orderings and stuff. So it's been I feel like I have a long time to go with the LSAT, but I've been sitting right before this call. I was studying for like 2 hours.
Great.
So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it takes a while to see the patterns, but you've got plenty of time. So don't worry about timing for now. Don't worry about full-length exams for now. Build your foundation first. Start there, untimed, and you'll have plenty of time to introduce the other aspects of the process.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like for me to know, or any questions in specific you would like me to ask you?
You want to plan so that step by step, day by day, you know exactly what to be working on, so you can remove all the guesswork. Because if you're not sure what to do, you typically end up just doing lots of timed exams and measuring yourself. And I want you to avoid falling into that trap.
Yeah. So I've been going through that and just going through each section and then testing myself at a certain period, not testing myself so much, because I feel like that could also discourage me in some way, especially because the initial score, you don't know anything. And then a lot of people were telling me that you don't know how, like right now that I think about the first time I took it, I was just like, wow, like that makes sense, because I just didn't know anything. So I've been trying to get my foundations up as much as possible and see where I can go from there and keep improving.
Good. Awesome. Well, sounds like you know what to do. Just keep at it.
All right. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Kim. Before we sign off, what would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
With the insight, I think that you helped a lot with the games, because that's something that I didn't really know that much about. And the plan of taking, the longer period that I need to focus on the foundations. A lot of people just forget about that, because I've been going through Instagram and seeing a lot of other accounts, and your account has really helped me. I love the videos because they just show, they're very short and very in depth, and it pretty much outlines what you need to know, especially with the time frame. If you focus more on correcting yourself, as you said, and knowing why you got them wrong, rather than just grading yourself and pacing yourself at a way that you won't realistically know what's wrong and what's right. So that's what I took.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad I was able to help. Please keep in touch and let me know if you need anything as you move forward.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.